Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Think Tank Thursday. I am Candy Kelly, excited to be your host and to spend this time with you. Giving some love to my 2023 Think Tank sponsors. We have Simnox, Redemption Plus, Roller, Betson, and Delta Strike. We are very grateful for their support that allows us to bring you these episodes each and every week. On Thursdays, Trainertainment likes to spend a bit of time away from all the doing and spend some time thinking about our business. And today we're going to think about what it means to go cashless in this industry and what are some a different way that we should be looking at that versus the traditional way. And then the comparative, there used to just be a cash versus credit debate. Now it's a cash versus credit versus virtual payment options. And so how should we be looking at that? What are some statistics? And John Keys from Embed is going to come as our guest for this week. And they have done a massive look at the numbers from all of their customers in the North America region and has some pretty staggering statistics that he's going to share with us today. So I hope you're excited for that. So let's jump in so you can see. John Keys, welcome back to Think Tank. How have you been?
Hey, Candy, how you doing?
Great. For those who may not know, I don't know how they wouldn't know, why don't you tell people who you are, where you work, and kind of what your role is there?
Sure. Well, my name is John Keys, and I'm the National Sales and Account Manager for Embed Systems. We do card systems for the entertainment industry. Really excited to be involved in the industry. There's been a tremendous amount of growth since COVID. I think we're continuing to grow on it. It's a lot of exciting things that are happening. And it's fun to be part of it. It's also fun to be a part of the Trainertainment partnership.
Long time partnership we have had.
Yeah.
So
excited to be here.
Yay! Now you're coming with us this week because there's some interesting numbers that Embed has put together. So I would love for you to jump into some of those stats. We'll have a conversation about some of those and just see where this conversation takes us this week.
Yeah, I guess the framing that I'd like to do of what I wanted to talk about today is kind of a perspective on cashless systems, cashless payments. And some of the things that we've found, we actually did a survey of all of the Embed customers in North America. We actually did it for the entire world because we also have offices. We have offices in Dallas. We also have offices in Dubai and Singapore, so internationally. And we came up with some interesting figures. And I looked at it initially and said, okay, it's got to be different. It can't be this high. And I was thinking, okay, maybe in the EMEA and the Middle East region and Asia Pacific area, they have larger locations, larger families like that. Maybe that was different.
They've also been going towards a trend of cashless. They're kind of ahead of the curve over the United States anyway, right?
They are. They've kind of, I would say that in definitely in Asia Pacific, even in the Middle East. I was in Saudi Arabia a couple of years ago, and what they were doing with cashless payments, what they were doing with contact tracing via your phone was definitely more advanced with us. So in looking at this, we were kind of looking at just average transactions, what's going on in the industry. So I'm going to get a little fancy today and see if I can share my screen, see if I can get you to the right screen.
Yes, we love show and tell.
Okay. I got to now move it over. I have to figure out how I get myself out of the picture. There we go. So what we did is we surveyed all of our locations, and we have about between 1,500 and 2,000 individual locations in North America. So we figured that this is probably pretty representative of the industry. So what we found, average transaction is $15.90, which is good.
And that's but the average, all of those. That as average doesn't matter what form of payment they're using there. That's what meant.
That's overall.
Okay.
So the average cash transaction is $9.90, which is a little bit lower than what we expected, but it made sense. We were actually talking with a couple of customers, and they said, yeah, that makes sense because somebody has $5 or $10 or $20 in their pocket. They're going to put that in. They're going to get their tokens, get their card, and go play the games. So that kind of made sense. When we went and moved to the credit card transaction, that was a little bit higher than we expected. Usually, I think industry talks about it as being like about double what cash is. We were seeing it about a 3 times increase at 31.95. And again, that makes sense. If you look at some of the articles, and there's some other articles that I'll maybe refer to a little bit later, it talks about that it's easier to use a credit card. People tend to spend more when they have a credit card. They tend to tip more, just because, again, it's easier to get access to that money. Um, and so that was, again, kind of an interesting piece. And I want to talk about this because there's been an interesting discussion that's going on within the industry. Is that do we promote cash more? Do we offer discounts if they pay with cash? Do we do credit cards? Do we charge for people to use the credit cards? And there's no right and wrong answer. I think it's something I think it's important that we look at both sides of it, and then people can make that educated decision, if that makes sense.
I do. I also
Okay.
think this is one of those things that we should really step back from being business owners at times and look at it through the lens of a consumer more so than our
Yes.
own lens.
Yes. Yes. And you got to look at both sides. So the next area, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into all of these, is when you're doing mobile wallet transactions or mobile payments, which is with Embed, we do the mobile wallet, which allows you to register cards and reload cards online. This is where it got really interesting for us.
But the big thing to
We
know about mobile wallet is most of the times, I'm assuming most of those transactions are probably coming from someone's phone that's in their hand, correct?
correct. So
Okay,
the
so that's
idea,
the big thing to know is that is in your hand with you at all times to be able to do these transactions versus a credit card transaction where you may have to go to a kiosk or to a person to get that card.
exactly. And
Okay.
and thank you for the clarification. We've talked about this before. You're
Yeah.
kind of an expert on this. That's what it is rather than going to a point of sale or a kiosk, you're reloading using your phone. And again, if you bought anything with Amazon or done anything online, you've seen how easy that is, how fast it can be. What we found, and this was what was shocking to us, is that the average reload amount was over $50. So that's showing like a 5 times increase over a cash transaction. And initially, that's the number that I saw when we were looking at international, and I said, okay, it can't be that high. It's got to be different. We ran it and we said, okay, no, that's correct. And then again, talking with customers, because we like to validate everything that we do with customers, they said that makes perfect sense because you're more inclined, you're not going to lose your phone. There are sometimes people are nervous about losing their cards. So if you have your phone, you're inclined to put more on it. It's easier to do, it's faster to do it. We also found another interesting piece is that over 60% of all the mobile wallet transactions occur outside of the location. And so again, now here's an interesting way where you have that high touch that we want to talk about. This is a way that you can engage with customers before they even get into the location. So the idea is somebody's coming from their home or from their hotel or in the car, and they're reloading their cards before they even get on site. They immediately get to go play the games. They don't have to stand in line for the kiosk. They don't have to stand in line to the point of sale.
While I think that some people may be shocked by these numbers, I think we can break it down to think of ourselves as consumers. There
Mhm.
is a rather popular fast food joint that has a pretty good app that used to have calendars, and I was upset when they got rid of the calendars and had to go to the app to get all my rewards, but that app is pretty popular.
Yes.
I don't think twice to load $50 up on my app, through the cart payment way, because I know that I'm going to go back there. It will get used. I am not going to
Yes.
not use it. So I think this is also the people who have downloaded your mobile wallet, the people who are coming to your location and using it, man, they trust you. They are your loyal people. They trust you. And so to put 50 more bucks on there, they know they're going to come use it. They're your
Right.
loyal patrons. They are, and they don't want the friction that everyone else may offer them in that. So that's something to think about because if I think about it from my own consumer lens, that particular app that I have, I don't think twice to hit load $50 up to let
Yeah.
me in the future.
Well, that's, I think, what they talk about. I think you talk with the industry and retail, they talk about the stickiness with your customer, and how do you make it so easy for them to be a loyal customer and come back? And how do you have that stickiness so that they, when they're going to decide where they want to spend their entertainment dollars, where are they going to spend it? It's going to be the place that they're most comfortable, the place that is the easiest to work with, that's the most fun, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's important. And this shows kind of as we scroll down, as we look a little bit, we looked at a couple different customers and saw that the adoption rate of the mobile wallet and this mobile payments has a pretty significant increase month over month. And so it's interesting. Then you really bring up a good point that we're just making it easier for customers to be able to spend money with us.
I think there's a lesson in friction that you guys are highlighting here, in that how much friction is it to have cash in this day and age? Well, I gotta somehow get cash from somewhere, whether that's getting cash back, to go and buy a bank or an ATM, heaven forbid, and having to like pull cash out. Like, there's a lot of friction to get. My daughter needed like $7 that they requested cash for something for school, and it was like, oh my gosh, what are all the steps I got to go through to go get $7 exact dollars to school? It's not, I can't even do that from the ATM. You got to get like a 20 out, and then I got to go find somewhere to spend so I can get that.
I have to buy a pack of gum so I can get change so I can get that back.
So much friction in using cash. Credit card is less friction, but I still got to go up to the kiosk. I still got to get my wallet out. And if I'm, in the middle of something, I've got to stop what I'm doing, whether that's socializing in a center and talking to my friends when my kid needs to, more money on the card or whatever, but there's still friction. But with the mobile wallet, I can talk to you, John, sitting at a table and be like, there, honey, you got 20 more bucks on your card. Real simple. And it never interferes with my life. I really think that's something, that lesson that you are bringing here, it's something that can be extrapolated to all other parts of guest service. What other parts of our world offers, or is there unneeded friction there?
Right. Well, and what I want to do now is I want to take a little bit of a step back and talk about cash, cashless, and then mobile payments, if that's all right.
Of course.
The interesting thing is we talked about that the cash. There's some discussion about, again, you can make more money with cash because you're not paying that 3% fee that you have to pay. And sometimes then that's going to be more if you do card not present, if you're doing a mobile payment. Yes. Interesting thing I had, and I'm just going to continue with this kind of fancy show and tell thing that we're talking. I was looking at some articles. And if you see, this is from the Pew Research. So they're again pretty well established. What they're showing is that from 2015 to 2022, the increase in using cashless payments has doubled, or almost doubled, from 24% up to 41%. And I think where that comes through, there's that convenience for the guest, and that's what we want to look at. But also look at it from the customer standpoint. And here's a question: is there more risk with cash? Is there an issue with security, where now you have to worry about balancing the cash? You have to worry about if you have more ATMs, is there a risk of theft? Is there an increase in labor? And then it comes back down to this idea of, if by doing cash, are you lowering your average spend? And that's, if we go back to that, are we lowering that from that $31 down to the $9 or $10?
And are you turning some people off? Like, if you favor cash over the convenient ways for them to pay, the less friction ways. I think of even as simple as a gas pump.
Yes.
I'm so used to paying with a card that if I get out of my car and it says go see cashier and won't take my card, I will legitimately get back in my car and drive away. I am not going inside that store to go see that cashier. So you just took a sale and turned it away.
Yeah. Well, it comes back to, and here's the next one I was looking at. Another one, look at AARP, pretty well established. I use that because I'm older, though I am not a card carrying member of AARP.
Not a card carrying member yet.
No, they offered it to me. I had it for a while, and I was like, okay, I don't see the benefit, and I really don't want to carry that in my wallet. Because that's a pride thing. But the interesting one, if you look here, and they talked about a food and beverage group, that they saw a 15% increase because It's faster to do credit cards than cash. You don't have to worry about change. You can go faster with it. So they say a faster increase. They also saw, as you look towards the bottom, they were talking about reduced cost in labor because it simplifies bookkeeping, it simplifies balancing and such that comes in. I think as we talked about that jump to cashless, that it went from 24% up to 41%. It's more profitable because you're seeing a higher average spend. That's your faster transactions, less cash management. So I think that's really a point that when you're looking at this point of do you go cash versus cashless? I mean, we have some customers that with their ATMs, they've removed the bill and coin acceptors. They're only doing credit cards at the ATM. I mean, at the kiosk, because they want to speed up that transaction. If somebody wants to purchase a card using cash, they can go up to a point of sale. Now, obviously, you have to look and find out what your customers are, what's their desire, and you got to meet that desire. But we had one customer that I thought was interesting. They wanted to try this, and I think it was right about 60%. It was 60% credit cards versus 40% cash.
Before their experiment?
Before their experiment. When they did their experiment, before their experiment, when they did the credit card increased to 70 to 80% with no negative feedback from their customers. It was just easy to do. So it's really got people thinking in those terms. And I think and again, you have to make sure that you're balancing that with customers, but you want to make sure about you want to make sure that you understand what the customers are, but then it comes down to as far as what they're willing to pay. This is another one. I saw this and this was interesting, that it was showing of it. We talk about now, are we going to charge? Do we want to charge for cards?
I know. I
charge
think
a fee.
You're bringing a totally, because there is quite a lot of debate out there, and not just our industry, but industries as a whole, that's like, use cash, get a discount, or use cards and pay more. Well, as a consumer, like, what is it costing you to do that? And you bring in some really solid evidence that actually you're not losing money by letting people use cards, or benefiting people from cards, or just at least not penalizing them for using cards. That it actually might be losing more money if you push people to cash.
Right. Well, and I think that's what you need to look at, and obviously look at both sides. I mean, there's no one right or wrong. It's going to work what works best for you from your company, from your operations and company standpoint, and what do your guests want. In looking at this, because I'm similar to you, I'm so used to using cash. I mean, to using credit cards. I don't carry cash, and it is a hassle when you have to go get change, etc. This one shows that when somebody says, "Okay, do we want to charge for this?" Again, I was talking with some people saying, "Okay, what do you think about that?" And they're going, "You brought up the point. That might turn off a guest because now you're penalizing them." And so this is saying almost 65% of the people saying, "No, I don't want to pay extra because I want to use the convenience of a credit card." Now, if you think about that, if you need to, again, we build in our costs into how we price out cards and games and food and beverage and everything else. There's a food cost, there's a labor cost, there's a fixed cost that we have to build into, and we build all that into how we price out items. So if we really want to assume, let's say we're doing 60 to 70%, then maybe we build that 1 to 3% fee into our costs, just like we do with everything else. And then we make it easy for customers to spend.
I will tell you, as a consumer, when I put my consumer hat on and not my business owner, even that, I try to always think about a consumer. I'd rather you raise prices on me than charge me extra to do something I'm already kind of was going to do. Like, I would rather you raise prices than to charge me for booking online. I would rather you raise prices than to charge me for using my credit card. I won't notice that as much, but I'm going to notice that extra fee that is tacked on.
Right. Now, one other consideration that I was thinking about, a lot of times we have done, because we were so focused on cash, that we oftentimes do inclusive tax. When you buy a $20 card, that $20 card includes the tax. And that tax rate can be 4, 8, in some places in Canada are 15% tax. So, and there's a resistance for people to say, oh, I don't want to choose, I don't want to make the customers to pay that tax because I want to make it easy for them to purchase that card. Well, we're making it easy because
for their
I'm
staff.
sorry?
They also want to make it easy for their staff. I've heard that before too. Well, if they have to pay the tax, and it would take longer to make change for that, where if it's $20 flat, it's just easy and more efficient for staff, which is a point you brought up a second ago.
Right. And in a lot of cases that, like with a kiosk, if you're taking cash, it doesn't give change. So that leads that into, okay, well, then maybe do we make that move to go cashless and make it easy and include that tax? And where I'm going with the tax idea is most times people are used to paying tax, depending on what state you're in. If you go out to a restaurant, you're going to pay that tax is included. If you go buy something in retail, you pay that. So we're already used to paying for that tax. So if we want to ever like manage our cost, I would be more inclined to go cashless and do that exclusive tax because the customers are used to it. They're willing to pay for that. And then you don't worry about that 3% fee that you're doing for the credit cards. So it's something to definitely to consider because again, what are customers comfortable with? What are they not? So how do we do that? And I think you really bring up the point of the guest experience being the most important thing. How do you make the customers feel very happy and excited to be here and wanting to come back?
Yeah.
Then kind of coming back full circle, we look back at this when we go to mobile payments. And then there's other groups that are out there. Again, we do that a little bit differently because we have a partnership with Google and Apple. So we're reloading the card. You put that $50 on a card and you spend it. One thing I just caution people to think about is there are some groups are looking and saying, we can use it where they can play the games using their credit card or using their phone to pay for that. As then that comes back into, are you paying that fee every time you play every game? Or are you paying that overall? And again, that's a question that you need to bring up.
If it's that's also more friction. If it's a transaction for every game I play, well, that's more friction for me as a consumer than loading a bulk amount like $50 to a.
And you have to balance it because some people say, I want to have that convenience where somebody doesn't have to buy a card. Okay, well then that means, okay, I'm going to be, it's great for the customer. And if you have that casual one-time player, maybe that's easy, but are we making it easy for them? And we're going to pay more because we have to pay a transaction fee for every time they play a game, but we're also not capturing any information to be able to build them into a loyal customer. So I think that's, again, you got to look at how this balances and how we make this work.
That are out there. I mentioned, so the two, I have a Dunkin' Donuts app and I have a Chick-fil-A app, and I know that there's a Starbucks app on my phone.
Right.
I don't just choose my credit cards to pay for my mobile orders for any of those. So the trends out there for people who are doing apps or some type of mobile payment is I load my Dunkin' Donuts gift card, which is then used to purchase my mobile orders. I load my Starbucks gift card, which is then used, and it's a virtual gift card. I understand it's not a physical anything. I load my Chick-fil-A gift card to then buy my Chick-fil-A order. It's not that each one of those transactions is taken off of my credit card. I have to load their payment source to then pay for it.
Yeah. I like to use the example as kind of Starbucks because they were really one of the first to start this. Mm-hmm. And what they did is, they talk about building loyalty with customers. Is they have the credit cards linked to the app. They have their loyalty program linked to the app. They have their coupons and bonuses. So. And they also can even track when you're getting close. So if you need that double short vanilla latte, you can get that. It's talking about building in that stickiness that comes in. And I think a lot of what it's really doing is that we've got to look at both sides of this. And I think you hit it on the head where we not only need to think about convenience for us, as customers, but also what do our guests, what do the end user, our consumers, what's their feeling, what's their preference?
Yep. Um, Lots of good information here. Uh, but I'm not surprised by that mobile reload is $50. I think it seems staggering when you look at it in comparison to some of those other numbers on the screen right now. But when
Yeah,
I sit back and remove myself from just like the vast increase there and think about my own behaviors, I'm not as shocked.
yeah. Well, that was the fun for us when we started talking with customers, because again, it's important even for us, just as our customers have to analyze and decide how they want to bring this up. We need to look and ask these questions, and we get feedback from our customers. And when they were saying, "Oh yeah, this makes sense," just like you described it, that helps validate it. That we're kind of saying, "Oh, okay, now this makes sense." It's not just objective numbers. You've got some reasoning behind it.
Oh, 100%.
Fun
Very
stuff.
interesting. I would love for our audience and Think Tank to in the comments, or you can email either one of us. Let us know what you're thinking about this trend towards moving cashless versus cash, and how do you yourself feel about it? And then I want you to think, oh, how does my guest feel about it? And to see if those are in alignment, because sometimes we just forget to put that other hat on and look at it from the other perspective.
Right.
Um, so all of this comes with mobile wallet, and which has been a very exciting addition to Embed. So very cool. And with mobile wallet, I'm pretty sure you can correct me if I'm wrong. You guys give a lot of resources to kick that off, like a creative toolkit, some other things like that, right? Like,
I'm glad you asked about that. Um, what we do have a couple things that I think are fun. We do have a creative toolkit that you were talking about, where we have a whole set of suite of assets that we can send to them, as far as posters and wobblers and QR codes, T-shirts, and that's, and again, QR codes, another thing that happened during the pandemic. They kind of went away, and now everyone's using it. So I've got people that are using the mobile wallet. They put the QR code on, let's say on their every table,
okay.
and says skip the line, reload online. Kind of gets people a little catchy thing to drive them to that. Um, the other thing that we started doing, which I thought was interesting, is a best practices document that we've done a number of these deployments and are getting feedback from customers as far as what works.
So give
When you
me an
describe
example of what a best practice may look like.
best practice would be, let's say if somebody comes up to the redemption counter, you have the team member ask them, are you using your virtual card? Are you using your mobile wallet, or are you using a physical card? Oh, I didn't know I had that. One of my favorites is on, you've got a line on a Saturday. You go up to it and you say, is there anybody just here to reload? Here, why don't you come over here? Let me talk to you about the mobile wallet. And everybody goes, well, wait, how do I get where I can skip this line?
That first one you talked about, I come from a children's entertainment center, and we always welcomed people. Are you here to party or play? Even if we didn't have any parties scheduled for that day, because we knew we just needed to make that list of when the parents are saying, "Oh, where does my daughter Leia want to have her birthday?" Well, we have XYZ bowling alley, we have ABC arcade, we have skating. We just wanted to make that list of the
Yep,
possibilities. And to do that, we were kind of subliminally always reminding people, hey, we do parties here. Hey, we do parties here.
exactly. And so that what we want to do is go beyond just the product and the marketing, is that there's some of it's training, because as you said, you don't carry a wallet. And so you're using everything online. Same thing is, and that's where we learned there's a difference between what's happening in North America and the rest of the world, because in some respects they've kind of leapfrogged us. They weren't doing a lot of credit cards initially, then they kind of moved beyond it. So it's getting that people understanding, and just sometimes asking that simple question can really help move that process along.
Very, very cool. So creative, you help people market that they have it, and then you help them with some training practices for how do you get people kind of on board with it.
Well, our goal in looking at this is that the reason people are implementing a card system is they want to use this to help their business. They want it to create that awesome guest experience for guests, but also to increase their revenue. And so that's when we look at doing this, rather than looking at what's the latest cool feature that we want to introduce. It's not about the technology. It's about how we leverage technology to help our customers solve their business problems.
Awesome. Well, John, this has been quite enlightening. I want to thank you for bringing the idea of looking at this through the lens of friction for our guests versus just a cost analysis type of way. I think that's a wonderful new way of looking at this age-old debate about cash versus credit versus now virtual payments, which is,
Right.
It's always been cash versus credit. Now there's a whole nother field in that.
Right. And again, as everybody knows, if you purchased anything, a lot of purchases are happening online on your phone, because that's what everybody has with them.
Mm-hmm.
I like to describe the mobile wallet as that's the reload station that is on every one of your guests' phones. So it just makes it easier. It'd be difficult to have somebody carry around a kiosk in their back pocket.
That would be quite impressive, but difficult.
Right.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing all of that great insight with us. We end all of our think tanks with the same signature question. You've answered it a couple of times, but are you ready? I'm ready to see what you're maybe answering it with this time.
Okay, I forgot the question, so this will be good.
What are you doing on a consistent basis to grow yourself? Because Trainertainment's all about growing people to grow your business.
Well, I think we've talked about this before, and I'll probably answer similarly, is that just continued learning. Well, I mean, a lot of what we did just talked about today was learning, because we had to ask people and talk through things. I think last time when we talked about it, is I talked about continued learning of. I do a lot of books on tape, not on tape, books on your phone.
I also think recently you guys had an initiative where Embed gave you access to some courses through some.
Oh yeah,
we work with recently too.
Yeah, we work with a group called Percipio, and this is one of the benefits that the company has offered to all employees is that you have log in to Percipio, and you can have any course that you can take, and that at no cost. And with some of the courses, you can get certifications. There's also books on tape, or books that you can download, and you can either read them or you can put it on your phone and you can listen to it. We're also doing a lot of like compliance training that we're doing like every month. We did something on, let's say, I was just, let's say, like on harassment, on how do you make sure, as far as trying to think of the different options. But every month we have like a lesson that we need to go through. So it's helping, not only encouraging the company to move forward, but it also is providing tools that you want to, let's say, read on. And I've even looked on some stuff as like, how do I look up some of this information? There was courses on it. So I think it's a great benefit that Embed continues to like invest in the employees to kind of continue that learning, so you can continue your own personal journey.
That is amazing. We love intentional learning here, so it's awesome.
Well, I guess I should also maybe say that, every time I attend one of your virtual sessions, I think I've done like the sales session probably a dozen times, but every time I attend that, I pick up something new. So again, I think we should leverage all the tools that are available to us.
It's one of the things I have to remind myself as a coach and a trainer, because sometimes, as I'm sure you have had some long-term Embed customers where sometimes you may feel like, I swear I've told you this before, or I swear we've had this conversation, but people are not ready to hear until they're ready to hear. Right. And we don't control when they're ready to hear and really absorb the information that we're giving them. And so sometimes it seems something that's so minute or mundane to us, and someone else, it is life altering in the way that they're running their Embed system, or the way that they're going through a sales process, because they were at that moment ready to hear the information we gave them.
Yeah, and sometimes you need, and repeating this, and hey, have you thought about this? No, I'm not ready for it now. Well, at some point they might be in the future. Or even if they don't, just like you ask them if you're here for a party or here to play. You're putting that in their mind to get them thinking about it next time.
Awesome. Well, At the time that this airs, John, the next big event for this industry is going to be Bowl Expo. Will they see you there?
I think we're trying to see if we can get in there. We weren't planning to attend. There's so many courses, so many events that we get to go to, so we have to sometimes be
You guys are
selective.
big international travelers for the trade shows as well.
Yeah, as well as a lot of the regional shows and such. So we try and balance that with it. So I'm not quite sure if we're going to be there, but we'll definitely be at IAPA, and there's a lot of regional events that are coming in. There are some regional bowling events. We found some regional IAPA events, some AAMA and AMOA events. So there's always a lot of stuff going on.
Almost too many choices sometimes, but
right.
Well, of course, thank you, John, for taking time to spend with us. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about Mobile Wallet or any of the other offerings that Embed has out there?
Well, I'd say first with our website is www.embedcard.com.
Always tricks me up. I got to tell you that I got to put card at the end of it.
Right. If you type embed.com, it just doesn't go to the right one. If people have questions and you want to email me directly, I'm always happy to answer any questions. It's john.keys, Keys, at embedcard.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And I'm sure I will see you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Candy.
So what do you guys think about those statistics? Quite staggering in what the average spend can be. And then just to think about it in terms of friction and frictionless, and how much friction are we adding to our guests, which I think that thought can be not just about how we pay, but we can look at every aspect of our business and ask, how much unnecessary friction are we adding to our guests? Also, just the look at the difference in efficiency. Really interesting perspective that John brought to that conversation. I'd love to hear what any of you guys have to say about it. Comments are open. You can email me, candy@trainertainment.net. I'm sure John would love to know what you're thinking about that as well. Again, I just want to say thank you to John Keys for always being willing to be a guest for me on Think Tank Thursday. We love spending time with him. Thank you again to my 2023 Think Tank sponsors. If you have an idea for a Think Tank, want to be a guest, or if you would like to sponsor an episode of Think Tank, please feel free to email me, candy@trainertainment.net. And if you find yourself in need of some coaching or training, or just want to ask some questions for anything training that's online, on-site, or ongoing, we're always here to help grow your people so you can grow your business. So check us out, and you can go to our website, trainertainment.net. And until then, I'll catch you on the next episode.
Introducing Mobile Wallet, the next gen in cashless fueled by Embed. Your virtual game card is added to the mobile wallet with no app download required. Just scan the QR code, then create your account in the mobile portal. Guests can do a quick reload of their game cards anytime, anywhere without leaving the game. They can also skip the kiosk and cashier lines, and there's no need for a balance check machine. With advanced security and encrypted tech, Embed's mobile wallet is the only FEC business solution compliant and approved by both Google and Apple.